So I'd like to hand over to Charity Digital's very own Lisa Shumet to introduce our panel and herself. Over to you, Lisa.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chris. And hello, everybody. Welcome to our last session. So as Chris said, I'm Lisa Shumet. I work at Charity Digital. And today I'll be the host for a lovely panel, all-female panel. We have first Danny Hutchins, digital and social fundraiser at the Cystic Fibrosis Trust. Hello, Danny.
Hi, Laura.
Hello. We also have Sarah Johnson, fundraising and relationship manager at Adoptions Matters. And last but not least, Annie Wilmot, head of events and comms at Connect Reading. Welcome, everyone.
Hi, thank you.
Hello. So I hope you've had a lovely morning and you've had a chance to attend some of the sessions.
Yeah, they've been great.
Really good.
Good session. Thank you.
Good to hear. So obviously our panel is really going to explore hybrid fundraising events, and obviously all of us are at different stages in the hybrid fundraising events journey. So if you don't mind starting off, Sarah, and tell us a little bit more about your hybrid fundraising event journey to start off with.
Yeah, hi. I'm Sarah from Adoption Matters. We are a voluntary adoption agency, one of the largest in the UK, and we are also a charity. I guess we've been going for well over 75 years as an agency, and we really started our fundraising journey around 3 years ago. We've been a charity for a long time, but we've really now completely turned and focused on the charity side as well. We were about a year in to our fundraising strategy, and then COVID arrived. So that kind of changed a huge amount for us. So I think all the fundraising directions, strategies, all those things that we had started, that we had put into place and were coming to fruition, suddenly all those things we weren't able to do anymore. I think like many charities and not-for-profits, the first thing that was the most important thing for all of us was just making sure that our families were okay. So kind of fundraising at that point really had to take a back seat, and it was just, it was really, is everybody okay? Are the families okay? Are the staff okay? That was a big part of it as well. And it was really then, okay, this is completely changed. What are we going to do? So I spent quite a lot of time researching and sort of talking to other people, really. I think at that stage, everybody was really receptive to helping everybody else, and they still are. Yeah. The fundraising sector, I think, has been amazing. And so just sort of chatting to other people, really, and then realised that actually we're going to have to do something virtually. So we started last year with a virtual event, just a teddy bears picnic that we did. We thought that was really lovely, something really lovely for the children, because we needed to create something positive and focus on something positive and look at what people were actually able to do. And people could have a picnic at home. They weren't able to go out at that point, but they could stay at home and they could have a picnic. And we managed to get some really fabulous storytellers as well. We had John Thompson from Cold Feet. We had Roger Johnson, who's our local Northwest Tonight newsreader. We had Owain as well, who was the drumming weatherman. He was working with Roger as well. So we had some really great. A really great start, and so we did like recipes and things like that, and lots of resources for children. So at Christmas we sort of took that a little bit further, and still had the stories. And then this year I thought, well, we might actually be able to do something. We might actually be able to do something actually, and we might be able to do something virtually. So that's where our hybrid journey started. So it's a long and convoluted story. So sorry, Lisa, but
that's brilliant.
That's how it came about.
Well, they're brilliant. Well, thank you, Sarah. I hope you have your teddy bear with you so that you can show us.
I do.
Yes.
I do.
So that's brilliant. Thank you. Then, we can move on to Annie. If you can tell us a bit more. Jenny?
So I'm Annie. I'm head of events and comms at a charity called Connect Reading, and we're a membership organisation. So we've got over 120 members from across all sectors in Reading, where we're based, and we create meaningful connections between them. So the fundraising project that has now become hybrid this year is something called the Giving Tree, which is an opportunity for members of the public and businesses to donate money or to physically buy a gift that goes to someone in need through one of our charity members. So the interesting thing for me was I joined in the January before the pandemic hit in the March. So I had actually not ever seen the project run physically. So it had run for years and years and years and is known in our town as being this amazing thing where people actually get to buy a gift. So then I was faced with the challenge of the shopping centres maybe being closed. So actually that's where people normally go and buy the gifts there. Businesses weren't in their businesses, so they couldn't hand out the tags to people to physically go and buy the gifts. So we were faced with meeting with our trustees, who very much were like, the appeal of this project is that it's physical gifts. And I was having to make a call and say, but I think practically we can't do that this year. So we then went fully digital last year. And we made that decision a week before the shopping centres then all closed for that lockdown again. So it was a good call in the end, but tricky at the time. So we took it fully online. So it became a kind of online donating money. Some businesses paired up and did online wish lists. And then we learned a lot that means that this year we can be ready should it need to go online. Let's hope not. But actually learn to have a hybrid project where we've got people giving online and physically buying gifts. So it's massively expanded the impact that we can have through the project.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thanks, Annie. And over to you, Danny. Which stage are you at, Annie?
So I work for the Cystic Fibrosis Trust, and we're a bit more unique in that the people that we support, there is a massive call with digital for digital needs for events and fundraising, because it's a little known fact that two people with CF can't actually be in the same room as one another. Mm-hmm. So this is something we were really conscious about even before the pandemic. But it didn't necessarily translate into fundraising as much. So last year, with the other guys and everyone else in the industry, we were forced into a bit of a hybrid digital space. And one of the biggest successes that I think we had is our flagship campaign, our Wear Yellow Day. That in June happened in June last year, maybe a week or so before lockdown ended. Mm-hmm. So it was still very much a hybrid discussion. Yeah. And we actually ended up raising, a good few tens of thousands more than we would have when it was just purely physical. Yeah. And that's because we were enabling people to giving them the resources to do things online still, if that's what they felt comfortable in doing, and also enabling them to go out and meet people as well. So it's now going forward with all our other fundraising campaigns, we're always asking, how can we provide a digital virtual space to work alongside our fundraising campaigns? Because like with everyone else, we want to get out there and out and about, but we need to not only cater for our unique demographic in that they can't always be out and about, but also for other people who have really embraced the virtual space. So that's where we're at the minute.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, I suppose, reach audience beyond your traditional geographical area.
So we had a Christmas carols event last year, which was purely online. And normally that takes place in central London. But we had people in Australia coming to sing some carols with us, which was fantastic. So this is something that we want to engage with further down the line.
Carry on. Great. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, the three of you, for giving us a bit of background about where you are. And I guess for some of our listeners today that may have dipped their toes a little bit in the hybrid fundraising event world, what would you say is the sort of, what recommendation should people have when starting on this journey, or when wondering where to do next? Annie, if you want to start, where
Yeah.
what did you find useful?
I think it was interesting for us because the project had run physically, but they'd always run a Virgin Money page that they didn't really signpost people to, but it seemed to be what people in the organisation were comfortable with. And I would have changed it last year, but it was one of those interesting, looking at what we already had, and given that the project was changing so much, actually figuring out which things do we keep for that year whilst I explore doing some stuff differently. And yeah, so we kept the Virgin Money page, and then actually, because it's closing down this year, I've had to change it, which is quite handy for me. So we're trying Givey this year for our page. But I think that was an interesting thing to think about, actually, what are we already doing, and how can we think about which things we change and which we keep to learn, to keep those ones and learn from the other ones. And I think, Sarah said earlier that everyone is learning this stuff. So figuring out networks to chat to people, like Facebook groups and things. There's one called Third Sector PR and Comms, which is an amazing group for this stuff. If you just ask, everyone has tried something, and you can learn from other people's experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Peer-to-peer seems to be the way forward. Sarah, as well, I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah, I think what was really important, I felt was really important as well, was really sort of trying to get everybody together. I think that's how I sort of started it as well. It was obviously wanting to do something for our families, but I kind of wanted to create like a little sort of community. We had obviously the celebs reading stories, and this year we got even more. So we had Sarah Davies as well, who's one of the dragons, and apparently quite a good dancer. And we've had Gail Porter and people like that, and I just wanted to try and get a wider community. So, and just show that and get their support, and people were really supportive and still are. I think they realize that people need these things to happen. They need to feel connected somehow. And I think it was lovely for us, because I also got our chair of trustees involved. I got our presidents involved. Our chief exec as well read a story. And we had some of the social workers were involved as well. So it was just trying to involve everybody, and it worked so well. And I think obviously the virtual event has all those elements, but the actual event as well was just so lovely when it was able to happen, because it meant people could see each other again as well. We hadn't done very much like that at all, and it was in August this year, so it was allowed, but obviously with controls in place. And it made so much difference. And I had quite a few staff members as well that really wanted to come along and volunteer, and that was just lovely, because it meant that people could see each other again. Staff members could, but the staff members could also see the families that they had been supporting in not just on a screen but in reality, and it gave everybody a real lift.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also seeing, you mentioned some of the member of staff that might not be traditionally involved in your event, that have found a new role. So
and I think I echo what you're saying before with Danny, that it meant that we could reach so many more people. We are sort of based around the Chester area, but we cover the whole of the north of the UK, and for us as well, being able to get that message out to everybody is really important. We want everybody to be able to take part.
Absolutely. Yes. And what about you, Danny, in terms of guidance, and also as Annie mentioned, moving from Virgin Money Giving to Givey, what tools also have you had a look at?
Yes, going on these guys, what they said about peer-to-peer support, I always find the Facebook group, the fundraising chat, that's usually my go-to to ask for advice. As soon as VMG said we're shutting down, I was on there going, what do we do now? Who's using what? And from that, I managed to have lots of really good discussions with different online platforms. So we can really see what is out there. And as you say, we've all used something. There's always someone in another organization similar to ours who we can chat to. And that's the beauty of the charity sector, is everyone is out there willing to help each other. There's not this competition type culture going on. So definitely ask other people what they think, whether that's in the Facebook fundraising chat or LinkedIn. Just pose the question and you'll be amazed the amount of conversation you get out of it. But one example of when this has really worked for hybrid and online fundraising is we were looking how we can steward our Facebook fundraisers, and I'm going to give them a good old plug here. Give Panel have revolutionized how we steward our Facebook fundraisers, and I am one of their biggest fans. And this will come from conversations that we've had on these different channels. So definitely just go and ask those questions, have an honest and frank conversation about how much that's going to cost and what these companies can do for you. I think that's just the best way to kick off any kind of hybrid online fundraising.
Exactly. Yes. Asking for guidance and most importantly, as you said, our colleagues will give us very unbiased reviews of what they're using and tell us, this is maybe not working for me, but maybe for you give it a go. So that's great. Thanks very much for that. And going forward, what do you think you wish you knew, and what sort of pearls of wisdom are you able to share on that learning journey that you're still on? What are the main elements that you wish you knew and now you know? Annie, for instance, if you want to start.
I think I've mentioned already the kind of challenge of our trustees having seen the project all physically. And I think I knew and was arguing on my own that people like giving online and they like connecting online. It's amazing to do stuff in person, but that it opens up things. And I think it's interesting when you feel like you're possibly trying to sell this like hybrid thing on your own, trying to get the kind of evidence of that. I think that's an amazing thing now that there's lots of examples we can probably share with those people that are unsure about making those changes. So I think I think it would be that. I wish that I'd been able to give some really solid examples, but we were doing something brand new, so I guess I couldn't have known. And I think probably just how much people would respond and still really like the project. And actually it gives people a different way to be able to be involved if they can share the post and encourage people to be involved as well. They can't do the same thing when it's just one physical event. So I think the opportunities that it provides for other people to champion your fundraising and is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sarah, do you also want to add to that?
Yeah, I think there are a few things really, because obviously we didn't have anything in place to use as a platform. So like the guys were saying before, I asked some colleagues. I'm a member of the Institute of Fundraising in the Northwest, and we chat to each other a lot and have been really supportive over the last 18 months and so I sort of found out from them what they've been using, and somebody had said, I was asking about Enthuse because I'd seen it advertised. Somebody said that it worked well for them, so we used that, but again it was a whole learning curve, learning how to use it. And it wasn't just me that was using it, it was marketing that were using it, and finance as well had to use it. So I think it's just being maybe more aware of the impact also that it has on other people.
Yeah.
I think I wasn't as aware of how other people would need to learn it as well. I think I was sort of looking at it purely from a fundraising perspective. And I would say secondly, I don't know why I was completely unprepared for this, but it's actually 2 events. A hybrid event is
Absolutely.
2 events. and it took me a while to get my head around that one, but you really have to plan for both. And I think it takes more time than you think it's going to. So once you've got all the virtual part done, because you can plan all that before as well, you can plan that quite ahead of time. And you can keep, adding to that and putting in your nice little, raffles and, fundraising asks and all of that. But, don't forget the actual event as well, because suddenly it's there and you're like, who am I going to use to do the first aid? And, it's all those things. It's very time consuming. And I'm a sole fundraiser as well, so I think, you know, that's a big lesson.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And big task. Yes. And what about you, Danny? Obviously, bringing the digital to all of the events. What have been maybe the limitation before?
I think I'm certainly learning to appreciate the technical ability of not only our supporters, but also members and staff internally who are going to deliver it. Whilst, you know, we're here to learn, to be able to provide tools for our supporters and give them an exceptional experience, when we actually deliver something that is a bit more technical, we need to appreciate that supporters aren't necessarily going to have the time or the inclination to learn this newfandangled platform. So trying to make it as simple as possible. And my dad's a prime example. He tried to do something or join an event on an app and it all kept going wrong. And in the end, he just walked away and said, no, I'm not doing that anymore. So just making it as smooth as possible and appreciating that not everyone's going to be as tech savvy as we'd maybe assume. But also alongside that, never be afraid to just keep on testing and be dynamic, even when a campaign or event is happening. It's great that it will be amazing to have this one package and be able to deliver it in the moment and to have everyone use it. But you're going to learn things along the way. And one of my managers uses a great analogy of the swan on the water. So for our supporters, they'll see this graceful swan, this amazing experience for their event. And underneath, there's all of us lot going like this in the background, getting it all prepared and changing and adapting different methods, email journeys, really changing things off the hoof in response to what everyone else is feeling at the time. So yeah, I wish again, as Sarah said, don't know why we weren't prepared for that, but I wish I really was prepared for that. When we go and plan all the digital offerings alongside our physical campaigns, it's definitely something we're going to be mindful of going forward.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I picked up from each of you the fact that it also made you aware of, mindful of all the people from the team and also your supporters that need also to go along that journey with you, and they need to follow you. If you change platform, obviously you, Annie, moving from Virgin Money Giving to another platform, you Sarah having two events at once, it's also getting the internal buy-in for whatever you're doing, and also your supporters buy-in. So, and building on that, the successes of bringing everybody along, obviously the main aim is to raise more funds, but beyond that, what do you think our audience should keep in mind as a good measure of success? I think it probably goes beyond fundraise. Sarah, if you want to start us on.
I think I sort of mentioned before, I think it was lovely to create something that was positive. A teddy bear's picnic can only be seen as positive. It was also, I felt at the time, I think that it was very much kind of a going back to the nice old-fashioned sweetness of time, when everything was okay. And it was great to be able to do that. I think from another perspective, obviously it raised funds for us, but from a PR perspective, it's been absolutely fabulous as well. Our marketing team has been really pleased with it because it's given them something to market. It's given them something that they know that people are going to bite at. And, because we've managed to get the celebs on board as well, that has made a huge difference. And, we're very lucky that those people have tweeted for us as well. And the reach is just phenomenal. And we could never, ever reach those people. So for us as well, it's what we do is, we recruit, we train, and we support individuals and families. and you know, for adopting children, and you know, the fact that all those people now are aware of not only what we do, but the support that we can give, that's priceless for us. You know, our ultimate aim is, you know, finding families for children. Children are at the heart of everything that we do. And, you know, if we can find just one more family through that, then this has been a huge success for us. So, you know, we can never underestimate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. What about you, Annie? Obviously, since it's all about connecting, I suppose you've managed to create more connections between everyone.
Yeah, so the purpose of our charity is to create connections for the organisations that are members. So our project gives gifts, which is an amazing thing. So normally we do 1,500 gifts going to charities. So it's 20 different charities this year. So we're a bit different in that we almost fundraise for other people. And one of the big things I reflected on over this last year was actually, how can we make the project have an impact that is even more than that? Because giving gifts is amazing, but these charities are doing other stuff. So one of the big things we've done is, for this one, is all the charities are giving us the information about what they're doing, how people can connect with them. And we're doing a whole social media campaign around donate and buy a gift, but also this is one of the charities you'll be supporting. Here are other ways that you can connect with them. So I think I've thought a lot about how can the project have an even bigger impact, and then we will connect in with them and find out whether actually any connections were made, so we can measure the impact on more than the money that was raised for the gifts, but think about what wider connections can have an impact on our town.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's like your main mission being almost like accomplished. If one might say. What about you, Danny?
Similar in the way about making connections. So I know Jane mentioned in the previous session about the importance of having the supporter not just sit within one fundraising department, if you like. So what it's been really good for the digital side is, because it is so accessible, it's almost been like a window or a door into the organisation. So they come to us because to a digital event, because it is a thing of the moment, especially last year. But from there is saying, we find those connections about, are you able to support us from a corporate perspective? Would you like to take part in challenge event when they come back? And it's been really good to get these brand new supporters on board. It's been a fantastic tool for that. So we're just very conscious of keeping them on a really tight but also very open supporter journey, so that we can introduce them to the other elements of the charity. And it's been really, really good for that, and it's a great tool to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great, thank you. I guess we can start moving on to the question. I know I'm also very curious to hear your thoughts about the different social media platforms, so we can probably weave that into some of our audience questions. So please, everyone, I know we have over 100 live attendees here, so please start asking your question. We've already got a few that I can go through here. There was also obviously because we mentioned Virgin Money Giving, Enthuse, and other people. Linda Winters was asking, the other platforms, and she personally uses Just Giving, which is well recognized. And what I would ask is, what was your thought process when you picked the platforms? If we can start with Annie, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, the thought process was slightly, flip, Virgin Money's giving, we need to change something quickly. We don't have any budget to pay for a new thing. So, I mean, as often the thought process, I think of like, oh my goodness, quick, something needs to change. And I'm the only one that is doing this project on our team. So I think that's interesting thing reflecting on these. Everyone listening will have such different sized teams and different capacity to research all these other platforms. So there was an excellent article on Charity Digital that had talked about some of the pros and cons, which is where I started, of different platforms. And I had a bit of a look into them. And we're now using Givey.com, which I think is a relatively new one, or it's sort of gaining momentum.
Saying is gaining, more.
So you don't have to pay as a charity to use it, which is something I needed from our end. I think people do have to donate a bit towards there's a platform fee. So we kind of weighed up that actually we were okay with that because we didn't have the budget to start paying for a regular one. And it's just that one's a really simple one. We're going to use donor as well, so people can do text giving this year. But because we don't do much other fundraising, for us it's just about setting up a page that we can just use for this annual one. So that's what we're doing this time.
That's the full process there. Thank you, Annie. What about you, Danny? If you want to.
So we're in discussions with quite a few platforms at the moment to try and determine what the unique selling point of Virgin Money Giving was and how we can fill that gap. But as most people would be using is Just Giving anyway. But things that we consider is basically that streamlined supporter experience. So another platform that we use, and I know they've been mentioned this morning several times, is Enthuse. So we're starting to use Enthuse to try and conquer the conversion rate of people signing up for an event, but then maybe not necessarily going on to fundraise. And Enthuse is a good platform to be able to keep their supporters all on that one journey. And that's the crux of it, is what is the supporter going to appreciate? How can we? What is their experience going to be of it? As much as sometimes some platforms can be maybe a bit of a faff in the background, we just got to get on with it and learn how to use it and learn the reporting side of it. Because at the end of the day, if they're the ones that provide the exceptional supporter experience, then we've got to go with them. So I think that would be our biggest consideration.
Yes. So how about you, Sarah?
Well, we I think at the beginning of this year, I thought, we don't have anything in place, and we didn't have the budget also to sort of build our own platform to do virtual fundraising. So I kind of thought, I don't have the expertise either. So I looked for somewhere that did, and that's how I came across Enthuse. And I think also, I've mentioned this before, that you have to look, you pay for what you get. And I think that us not having to build this whole thing was a huge budget saver for us. So whilst, there are certain payments that come out and fees, etc., what it would have cost us to build it in the first place would have been huge. And also it does lots of extra things that, again, save us so much time. And you can brand it, and, you can make it feel like it's part of your own kind of social media world. So I think that really helped. We also used Donor as well. We were one of the first people that did the online raffle. So that was interesting to be a part of that as well. And I think, another part of what Enthuse does, it automatically sets up a fundraising page, so that you can actually get people to do some fundraising whilst they're doing your event as well. So that's when I introduced the little teddy bear. So basically anybody that raised over £20 with their fundraising would get one of our teddy bears. And some people basically didn't do any fundraising and just donated £20 because they wanted a teddy bear. So, that was all additional extra bits that we could add on to it. And I think you just have to experiment, really. I think that for us, that was the important thing, just give it a go.
Absolutely. Yes, trying. Well, exactly. And Sarah, what was still on having you? Can you, Lucian is asking about the process of getting celebrities on board, and the impact they had. Obviously, you mentioned their reach on social media.
Yeah.
So what was the process there?
It was different, really. We have an amazing trustee board. So one of my trustees knew one of them. I shan't say who. But also, I had been at an event where Roger Johnson was speaking, and I basically emailed him afterwards and said, "Would you do it?" He phoned me back on my mobile right away and said, "Yes, just tell me what you want me to do." So he's now read 3 stories, I think. So that's our local Northwest Tonight, which has a huge reach up in this area. And he's always really good about tweeting and stuff like that as well. And to be honest, it wasn't rocket science. I just asked people. You know, you can look up their PR companies. It's all on their websites. So look up their PR companies and just ask the question. It was really as simple as that with several of them. I also had a supporter who I've been chatting to for a while, and he knew several people as well. So again, it's just using all your contacts.
Network. Yeah.
Network.
Danny,
I think I would add to that. Like we don't do celebrities, but we connect with businesses. And I think it is that asking and assuming that actually you have got something that people will want to be involved with. So us going to businesses and saying, we've got 20 local charities who would love to receive gifts. Would your business like to do them? And then I'm always surprised when they come back and say, yeah, we'll buy 100 gifts. And they're like, okay, that ticks a lot off my list. But actually, it is a really great ask. And businesses love to be able to offer that. Like, we're literally putting a package together of how their business can fundraise. So I think being really clear on what you're kind of offering and what your ask is, and then just knowing it's good when you offer it to people. If they say no, then fine, there'll be someone else who'll want to get involved.
Who will. Yeah. Absolutely. No, great. Thank you both. Going now over to the advantage of online event, and a question for you, Danny, because you said that obviously 2 people with the cystic fibrosis condition cannot be in the same room together. And it's a question from Liz, who's asking, does digital effectively enable you to include more users and their families in your events rather than physical?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So just to expand on that, so 2 people with cystic fibrosis, they can't be together in the same space because of the potential risk to cross-infection. So one person's bacteria that they're holding can be detrimental to the health of another. And even when we talk about colds, flus, COVID, even being around that can be detrimental to someone with CF's health. So especially in the winter time, it's something that we whilst we would love people to all be together, we absolutely can't do that. So digital absolutely enables us to do this. And one of the prime examples for us is this year. Is it this year? Yeah, we're still in 2021, right? We launched we launched our first February campaign, which is essentially it's like a coffee cake type event. And February, we were all still very much in lockdown, so it was purely digital, and it enabled different CF families to connect. It allowed people who are isolating because of their vulnerability to connect with their families and friends again. So absolutely, it does that. And even things like our conferences, it allows all the people affected by CF to be at that conference that ultimately benefits them. It allows them to be in the same space. So absolutely, it's something that we want to just develop even further for our beneficiaries.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, thank you, Danny. And then we have two questions that are quite similar. The first one for Stuart, who's asking for charities that are very new, that are testing the water when it comes to organising a hybrid event. Is there one event you would suggest to test, and then that would determine what you should do in terms of hybrid event? How would you go about that, Sarah, for instance?
I think what I did was I looked for something that would be suitable for our audience, and I think that's the first thing that you need to do. You have to think about who's going to take part in this and why. why would they? Why should they? And I think, you know, we've heard that today already.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
why would people take part in your event?
Yep.
Yeah. And so I think I started it as more of a, well, this is a nice to do. This is something that people can take part in. It's, you know, it's a sweet event. It's for the children. That's what we do. We're talking about sitting down with your family, having a little picnic, listening to a story, which again, you know, we checked all the stories to make sure that they were suitable for children who were adopted. So it wasn't an accidental thing. We looked into every single element of what we did and made sure that everything was covered. And I think it's just really important to kind of do your research. So do your research on the topic, do your research on your audience, and just, you know, start from there. And it doesn't have to be, I think, you know, it doesn't have to be a huge money spinner at the beginning. For us, it wasn't. It was we've never done this before. Let's see how it goes. And then you can just build on it. And we're going to be building on ours now. We're going to do it in different areas. So the virtual part of it will be the same wherever. Yeah. But the actual physical part of it will be in different areas of where we are. So you can sort of change it to suit your charity.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah,
Annie.
Just an encouragement in that. I think you don't learn unless you do it, because it's really hard to figure out how your audience are going to respond to stuff. And I think probably just to be encouraged that even if you do something and not many people come along, the learning you will gain from it is going to help you with the stuff that you do after. I think we had that tension when we first went into the pandemic and lockdown, because we're about networking and connecting people, which was really hard to suddenly do online. Yeah. So we did some online events that worked really well, and we did some that didn't. And actually there was one time we were like, actually, we're just going to scrap this event. So I think being okay with thinking this one isn't working and we're not going to do this and we're going to do that one. And being aware of the fact people don't mind that you're learning as you're doing it either. They actually, I think, quite like being on that journey with you and having been one of the people that's invested at that point. So rather than feeling like, oh, I failed because that event didn't go as well, seeing it as I'm taking the learning from that because it's going to help, and using the supporters who are there with you to encourage you and help you develop that thing.
Brilliant, thank you. Danny, did you want to add something?
Yeah, just on a practical point, one of the good things, one of the things that we tested at the beginning of our digital journey was to really enhance the birthday fundraising on Facebook. It was really easy ask of the supporters, but also allowed us to test what their feelings were for this, perhaps their first time ever fundraising online. And we found from that they did appreciate some kind of physical touch point. So all of our community fundraising team, as a result of their birthday fundraisers, write them a handwritten card, because that's something that we've learned from testing different thanking methods for birthday fundraisers, is that they do want that physical connection in some way. And that's a fantastic learning for us with all our other campaigns. Whilst we still do virtual and digital, what is the little nuances that they would like from a physical perspective? And it's a really easy one to set up as well. So if you're venturing into the digital and online fundraising space, Facebook birthdays is a really good one to get started with.
Can I just add another one to that, Lisa, as well?
Yeah, of course.
I think the second time round that we did it as well, we had a sponsor, and that actually really helped. That gave me a lot more freedom to sort of add a few more things into the mix. We had a sponsor called Gigalock, so you know we sort of worked with them and used their logo, and you know we were in discussions with them to see where we could work together and the best way to do that, and they helped us with our marketing as well. So that actually just gives you a little bit more freedom to be a little bit more brave, I think.
Yes.
So that's just an additional that helped us the second year round.
Yeah. That's a great takeaway, actually, that I'm taking for all of you three. It's trying new things, being brave. Don't be afraid to ask your network and to ask other people within your team to do something new, something they haven't done before, and probably very rarely you get a hard no. People will be very happy to support you. So that's great. Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry we run over a bit, but we could go over for probably 2 more hours. So thanks very much, Danny, Annie, and Sarah, for your time. I'm hoping that everybody really enjoyed the panel, and I hope that we will be having you again very soon. So thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank
for having us.
you.